Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm very conscious that Donald Trump is talking in town at the moment, and you're stuck here talking to me, so I'll try and do something that is worth your investment. But as I said, my name is Dennis Hickey. I am Chief Development Officer at NEOM. For those people who don't know NEOM, NEOM is an incredible initiative, part of the 2030 vision within the Kingdom, opening up a new region, which is really designed to create a new economy for 100 plus years. It is an incredible initiative, and I'm really honoured to be part of NEOM and to be part of Saudi at this time, which under His Royal Highness is going through an incredible transformation. I'm here to talk to you today about infrastructure. Pretty boring topic, and there's a lot to actually cover, but I've been 10 or 15 minutes really talk about where the future of infrastructure is going and what are we doing at NEOM to try and participate in that. If we think about infrastructure, you've got existing cities and then you've got new cities. And it was reminding me the other day, I was reminding myself, I live in New York in Manhattan. And when I first moved to Manhattan, I looked out my house, I was there, and within a couple of months, the street was paved. And the roads came in, they put a new street, they put the street markers down. It was fantastic, it was beautiful, it was quiet, no potholes. Reminded me of Russell Crowe, who said one time, Manhattan's a great city, it'll be awesome when it's finished. But anyway, so they're repairing the street, and it was great, and I felt really excited. Lo and behold, within 6 months' time, someone comes up, digs up half of the street again, and for the next 10 months, it creates chaos as they put new infrastructure down the side of the street. Then they repair everything, and that's fantastic, and I get back to being happy. And kid you not, within a year, someone came on the other side and dug the other side of the street up to put sewage and storm water. And I was sitting there thinking, what's just happened? So I'm in one of the most amazing cities in the world, and the problem wasn't about execution. It wasn't about individual people. The councils were doing their job, the utility did their job, the contractors executed well, and there was a need to do the infrastructure. So it wasn't a problem about that. The problem wasn't about execution, it was about coordination. And how do we coordinate that? And if they had been coordinated, the costs and disruption could have been massively changed. So really, when we look at today, what we wanted to talk about is that with the movement in the green agenda and what we want to do from decarbonising our worlds and the legacy systems we have in infrastructure, how do we actually go about changing what we're doing today and not keep doing the same thing? If we look at legacy cities, which I won't talk much on because the opportunity is in the new cities, but legacy cities, as we all know, are hampered by existing models. A lot of this infrastructure was put in 100 years ago, 50 years ago, at different times of technology, different times of growth. And they were never designed to be agile and evolved. So really what you have is you have what's called a legacy lock-in. And we see that in lots of places. But the city has a system that it must adhere to, and that locks them in their ability to modernise what they do. You've also got fragmented ownership. Just running a city is big enough. Just running the utilities or the MTA or the water or the power is a big enough job, let alone trying to actually take it forward. And really, the disparate agencies and ownership in the city creates a massive problem. The third thing we have is that capacity is driven by demand, and demand can be unpredictable, and it's not fluid. And we struggle to keep up with shifts in demand in our existing cities. And then finally, it's almost impossible to retrofit climate-led. To try and push the climate agenda in an existing city is incredibly expensive and really hard to coordinate. So existing cities have a very, very tough ask to take infrastructure to the next level, which really leads us to what is the opportunity. And if you look at what's happening on the horizon, the first thing you see here is that 75% of our energy needs are consumed by cities around the world. 75%. If you look at the stats that come from United Nations, say that we're going to have 1 billion people move to cities in the next 25 years. That's 1 billion people into new cities or existing cities. How do you handle just that growth, let alone retrofit? And then finally in here, 70% of the assets aren't fit for purpose in terms of where we need to go. So it's a massive problem. And so this is where NEOM, we've kind of stepped in, and the Kingdom has stepped in to say, how do we lead the thought and how do we lead some of the initiatives around tackling this agenda? So within here, if we're thinking about new cities, to create a new ecosystem, and that's the big thing, is that your infrastructure needs to be an ecosystem, one ecosystem, not a disparate set of infrastructure that comes together. And to do that, there are really 5 elements that we focus on, that need to focus on all cities, whether it's in Asia, whether it's anywhere. But new cities, if we are going to pioneer and create a new world, they have to focus on these things. The first thing here is that you need to have an integrated master plan. You need to have that. That is really important, to have all of your utilities and service planned together as a single entity. You've seen it in the city you probably live in today. Your Department of Transport versus your Department of Water, everything doesn't talk to each other. You've got fiefdoms, they're never set up to collaborate. And so what we're saying here, you need to master plan together. The other thing you need to do is it enables you to leverage those assets. The minute you master plan, you can start to think about utilisation of different infrastructure. You can start to think about utilising corridors, easements. You can start to think about how you utilise substation areas and expansion areas. All of this happens. And then what that means is you end up with an optimised outcome, and you're able to drive costs down, and you're able to be much more efficient. The second thing is you must design for change. Okay? This is important because we're on the verge of artificial intelligence. We know things are going to change. We know that the infrastructure we lay today is going to change in the future. So if you don't think about that doing that now, you won't ever maximise the opportunity that you have at the start of a greenfield project. And so designing for that change, for continual change, is important. Digital twins are the big tool for that. The advancement in that technology enables us to be able to scenario plan, to actually future-proof, to go in and start to look at different scenarios, play what-if games. As you are laying your initial infrastructure, how do you start to plan for the future? You need to spend as much time thinking about future change when you're laying your infrastructure than you do about just laying your infrastructure now. And that, at NEOM, is something that we're doing. We basically have very much a unique opportunity to do one master plan. And that's what we're doing between all of our infrastructure utilities. And we're spending the time about what are future technologies and what are the opportunities across all of our sectors. The other thing you need to do is to think about digital first. Sounds really boring and pretty simple, but digital is the lifeblood of being able to become a cognitive city. If you want your infrastructure to move from being smart to being cognitive, and the difference between the two is smart collects the data and can tell you what happened yesterday or happening now. Cognitive interprets the data and predicts the data and gets ahead of it. It starts to predict the usage. It starts to predict demand out as far as you want to model. It starts to run scenarios. If you want to be in that space, you need to be thinking digital now. And a core part of that is the data. If you've got different systems, you must have a common data environment. You must have an ability for systems to talk to each other. Again, it sounds really simple, but it's incredibly complex. And what we're doing with Autonomous, with all of our NOAA, our energy utilities, is spending the time now to get the data integration up front, so that when people come to NEOM, they adopt out our data system, and both the private sector and the public sector can then share that data. And that's a great foundation layer that we need to do now. And if we do that, the benefits of that are going to be incredible for years and decades to come. With that also comes the need for data protection. I think we all understand that we can gather data, and you've got cameras, you've got simulation, you've got nodes, and we gather a lot of data. And a cognitive city, whether it's infrastructure, utilities, is a great thing. But there are concerns around privacy. There are concerns about my data. What happens there? And so one of the things we want to think about is, we are trying to think about at NEOM, is how do we turn our philosophy of data from Big Brother watching you into Guardian Angel? And we're saying, what is that? How can we take the data we capture, protect you, but make sure we can use it to give you a better outcome? And our digital teams and our technology teams and our innovation teams are working through that. One of the solutions are around AI agents. And if you haven't done much on AI agents, it's an emerging thing, but how do we adopt an AI agent technology that can interface between companies and can interface between you as the individual and be able to do the data protection for you, so that you don't have to protect the data at the source, you can start to protect the data at the individual level. And that's something we're very focused on, and again, really pioneering. The technology is emerging, but it will reshape how we think about data protection. The other thing for emerging cities or new cities is that we start clean, which is a massive advantage. So we have that, it's called a last mover advantage. So you're the new technology, you don't have any legacy systems I talked about before, so everything we do can now start to be focused on technology and clean. So all of the energy, NEOM's aspiration is to be 100% renewable energy for the whole of NEOM. That'll take some time as we build up, and we'll get there. But renewable energy, we are focused on wind, we are focused on solar, and we've also got green hydrogen capacity as the network and infrastructure to be able to generate and provide a sustainable, clean energy environment. All of our transport is designed to be electric-based. The line is designed to be a city of no cars. So we're designing up front to be able to take that out. And that's a huge advantage. Going into a city and saying we're not going to have any cars is a very hard thing to do. Being able to do that for a new city, you can start to plan ahead. So that's one of the other things we do. And we have the ability, if you design up front, to leverage with the private sector. And again, we're doing that at Oxygon. We're partnering with Aquapower. We're looking at our green hydrogen. We're looking at our energy and our water. How can we do that in partnership with the private sector, not just government providing everything? And that's a huge difference. And so being able to think about that now and being able to design that now is one of the core advantages that having a new city ecosystem will give better outcome for the people who live there. And finally, really align governance and financing. Having the ability to have one master plan, having the ability to think about how you govern and manage the infrastructure is as equally important as thinking about how it runs. If you go into existing cities today, you have departments who are focused on their annual budgets. What's my budget today? When can I spend it? They think in their own silos because they have to. Because running their current city today, they were never set up to be integrated. And they were never set up to be aligned and never set up to be collaborative. And what we're able to do is to say, well, let's set that up now. Let's set that collaboration up and let's share data and let's make sure that we can actually act as one ecosystem when we talk about infrastructure in NEOM, as opposed to disparate utilities, whether it's data, whether it's energy, whether it's water, whether it's mobility, acting in their own capacity. What that does is it leads to faster decision making and lower risk. It has to. It has to speed up the time, it has to lower the cost, and it has to drive down risk. And so that is all an outcome of what we're doing. And then basically the opportunity to rethink about financing. Because you're pulling it together, it's no longer a single source of financing for one utility. You can merge utilities, you can start to cross-reference, you can start to look at different finance instruments to bring the capital in to do this. Whether that's, again, private debt, whether that's public debt, whether that's government. Different financing tools enable you to be able to deliver, again, faster, cheaper, better outcomes. So really, I think the thing for me is, when you think about the opportunity in front of us, it's not about that existing cities are bad, it's just that they can't have the opportunity to coordinate. And the new cities have the opportunity to start thinking about coordination and outcome driven. And so when you look at where the growth is going in the world, where you look at where the agenda is going around sustainability, and you look at where consumers are going in terms of wanting cheaper prices, that all has to come together, and there's a unique opportunity to create an ecosystem around infrastructure that I think new cities around the world, and whether that is in Asia, whether that's in Europe, whether that's in Saudi Arabia, every new city or major extension to a new city has that opportunity. And what we want to do at NEOM is to be at the forefront of that change, to help shape the business model for that ecosystem, and to really show the world how we can redefine the opportunity and to give everybody a much better outcome and our cities a better livability experience. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you very much.